We want to take a moment to recognize June's episode sponsor, who we are so grateful for, Heartland Chiropractic. Located in Monticello, Georgia, Dr. Lindsay and her staff have been restoring health naturally for 10 years. At Heartland Chiropractic, it's not just about chiropractic care, it's about building better lives. Their team truly listens, treats every patient like family, and serves with purpose and compassion. We're proud to partner with a business that shares our commitment to impact, service, and community. Call them today for a free consultation, 706-468-6500. Vertigo, neck pain, whiplash, they can help come up with a personalized plan for you. That's 706-468-6500. Thank you, Heartland Chiropractic, for supporting the Impact Show this June.
Welcome to the Impact Show, where we discuss life, legacy, and leadership. We've been running in 2025, had a lot going on. Well, good. Hey, welcome back, Maddie.
Whoop, whoop.
You were out like 2 weeks.
Hey, yeah,
Life has been busy for
it
you.
has.
It's okay,
You know, once the grass starts getting green,
right?
full sprint.
Cuscawilla.
Cuscawilla,
Yeah, the golf course.
the golf course.
Everybody's playing golf, and it's affecting our ability to impact this people on this show. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I'm really pumped to be here, actually. So if we sit here and have our coffee, I'll let the audience know that Maddie and I have really been running for the past month, and we really haven't even had time to catch up for the past week or two. We got a lot going on, and like I said, the last couple of weeks we had some guests, and Maddie wasn't even here, and so I was broken down. But now I'm back to rejuvenated. Here we go. All right, so last week we had Mac and Rhea Story, and Maddie's going to be so upset that she missed it. Once she listens to it, just like you are, the listeners, once she gets to hear it herself, she's going to love it. It was a good experience. I invited Mac here to do this with me, and I didn't know he would come, but he did. It was very cool. They turned out to be really good people. I was thinking about my takeaway because Maddie can't have a takeaway because she wasn't here, but my takeaway for it was that they live and breathe this stuff. The stuff that I teach, we teach and read and speak about on Sundays. They do it every day. And so you can just imagine whatever you do every single day, you can become good at. And I was impressed. What lives in the head of Mac and Rhea was impressive to me. Rhea, especially, she was so well spoken. And like I said, Maddie, you'd love to sit and talk to her. She seems like a really knowledgeable lady that just knows her stuff. And I don't know, just something about both of them that was special. So anyway, this week is courage. And so the last time we taught, actually, Miller came in and taught on humility, remember?
Yep.
That was good. I thought that Miller did a great job with that, and should have got him back in here to talk about courage. After all, he was a military guy. You know, it takes a lot of courage to do that. But when you think about courage, Maddie, what do you think?
Think about bravery, and doing things that may feel uncomfortable. Maybe not uncomfortable is the right word, but doing things that others won't. So you're making the leap. You're having faith in things that others don't. And I don't know what the exact definition is, but that's kind of bravery, doing things that are harder for other people. And it's probably hard for those who are courageous as well, but they're not scared.
Being able to move in spite of the difficulty. So we always say Google it. If you Google courage, it's the ability to do something that frightens one. So you again, move forward in spite of the fear or doubt, maybe,
Pushback.
Yeah. Resistance, 100%. Some people believe that fear can be absent, but I don't think that's true. When you think about fear, well, let me say this before we even get into this. When you think about courage, it's not the absence of fear, it's being able to move in spite of the fear, right? So so it really is, then is it opposite of fear? Would courage be the opposite of fear? No.
Right?
I don't know. So I think fear is always there. But when you think about fear, so we can sit here and we can have a whole conversation about courage. But the way that you define courage is with fear.
Right.
Okay. So then that would lead me to think, well, how is fear? What would be the opposite of fear? If you didn't even think about the word courage, take courage away. What's the opposite of fear? Not scared.
Yeah, like brave.
Brave, which is courage.
Yeah.
Right? So it kind of is. Okay, so then
So can opposites be in the same? So just because something is opposite doesn't mean that they can't be one and the same. Or not one and the same, but they can't go hand in hand.
Well, no, yeah, no. I think they can go hand in hand. But being the opposite of, that's really, I mean, again, I don't know the opposite of fear, but if I was to come up with something, like you said, brave, but I don't know. So we're going to dig into that a little bit because this goes down a pretty deep hole. We always do that on the show.
And it'll feel like in 5 minutes we're going to be like, all right, we got to land the plane.
Yeah, but in a sense, you could say that courage is the opposite of fear, okay? And again, not exactly, but courage is the only cure to fear. Okay, so you can't, fear will be present unless you have courage. There's really no elimination of fear by anything else. So in my mind, it would be the opposite. So courage beats it down. All right, now, so fear will come to you as a human all the time, probably in more ways than you think. And my goal in the next 5 or 6 minutes is to bring that to the top of the water. So so now we've talked about what is fear. We talked about what is courage, but what is fear?
That's hard. I mean, because fear is doubt, resistance, being scared, right? I mean,
this is going to be fun.
This is hard.
So, do you have any fears?
I do.
Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Sure. I mean, I guess fear, I have different types of fears. So, like, I have, like, the ridiculous one of, sharks or, something crazy like that. But then I've got, like, the fear of, like, family and things like that you don't want to, you have the bad dreams at night about, losing your closest people and things like that those are fears. But then, day to day, I want validity or, acceptance from people around me and things like that I wouldn't necessarily say that those are fears, but those are things that I'm like, did I say something wrong? Did I, like constant question myself of maybe that's more confidence than it is.
No. You're on to something. That's good. That's where we're about to go. So when you think about fear, you might think, well, some people say fear dying, being shot, burned,
right,
drowning.
Sharks.
Shark. I mean, snakes, spiders.
Right. Podcasts.
Yeah.
Microphones.
Stage fright. I mean, but reality, those are probably fears, but there's a whole lot more to fear than that. And so the way that you would define fear, you know, what is fear? And so I have a few. I'm going to tell you about some of my fears first. I'll name them all. I actually came up with 9 earlier, and I wrote them down. So
if you would have asked me this question before the podcast, I probably could come
you
up
would have
with
came
9.
equipped. Okay. No, it's good.
I like being on my toes. I like it.
Yeah, no. So fear will always be there. We talked about that, but let me give you some of mine. So number 1 fear for me is, I always go to Scripture. The Bible talks about that at one point in Romans, where God gave them over to their sinful desires. It's in the book of Romans. It says God gave them over to their desires, meaning that he just let them have their way. And he didn't, I don't know. I'm not a scholar here, but he gave them over to their desires. And it didn't turn out good. It did not turn out well for them. And so that's one of my fears, is that God would give me over to my desires and not convict me to walk with him, right? Now, that's a big fear for me. Number 2, making a decision or failing to make a decision that would lead to catastrophe in my life. So if I made a decision to do something and it created havoc in my life, that's a fear for me. Like, I always make decisions cautiously and slowly, because I say slowly, but not very slow, but based on the fact that if I make the wrong decision, I'm screwing my life up. Number 3 is failure. Like you said, you alluded to it just briefly, not being good enough. I have a fear of failing to be a good dad, a fear of failing to be a good husband. I even have a fear of failing to be a good friend. I want to make sure that I hit those 3 things well. And so when I have a fear that if I don't, what happens? I have a fear of God's wrath. I have a fear of lack, not having enough resources for my family, right? I have a fear of letting people down. I have a fear of hunger. And people say, what is that supposed to mean? Well, I have a fear. What if I can't feed my family? That's kind of scary. I have a fear of being put in a position that I should have been prepared for and not having been prepared.
That's good.
I have a fear of course, this is something else we're going to talk about. Do your fears change?
From time to time?
As you go through life, will new fears come?
Yes.
Yes, 100%, right? Based on the circumstances that you find yourself in. And I have a fear of, like, recently starting the company. Like, oh boy, I have to feed these kids.
Well, doing that, starting your own company hits every single one of those fears. Like, I'm sure you went through it. I mean,
oh yeah,
hungry. I mean, that's
all of these things are fears that are recently on me, right? Because of what I've probably just decided to do. But not having work, not having the ability to secure work for my people, for them to be able to feed their kids, all those things, right?
To provide.
Yeah. So, but all those things, think about what they are and then define fear. So all those things, whether they'd be true or not true, would lead you to what? I mean, if you say, well, all those things are fears of mine, of Jeremy's, what do they have in common?
You overcome them?
Well, yes, but what? Okay, so we talk about what is fear, and it's all doubt.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
All those things are doubt. And so you would say that fear and doubt are synonymous with each other, which is the opposite of courage.
Yep.
Okay? So, but the other thing that they do, if you leave them there, is they control you. So, fear is synonymous with doubt and control. Okay. So,
Say that one more time.
fear is synonymous with doubt and control. And so you would say, well, what is the antidote to that? Because you don't want to live in that.
Mm-mm.
The antidote is courage, because you overcome those things with courage.
Right.
All right? Okay, so having...
Thank you, Heartland Chiropractic, for supporting the Impact Show this June. At Heartland Chiropractic, it's not just about chiropractic care, it's about building better lives. Their team truly listens, treats every patient like family, and serves with purpose and compassion. We're proud to partner with a business that shares our commitment to impact, service, and community. Call them today for a free consultation, 706-468-6500.
Said that, well, so then courage is the opposite of fear, okay? And where does courage come from? Like, where do you get that?
Multiple places, right? I mean, I get courage from my peers, my family, my husband, number one. It's like building my confidence up before, it's like you with starting the new company. It's like, would you have done it if Ashley was like, oh, this is a terrible idea. Like, you've got to have those people rallying around you to where they can boost your confidence and your morale, because they know more about what you can do than you do, like they see it every day. But yeah, I don't know how you build courage, because is it built on successes?
Yeah, sometimes. I think that could, I think courage could be built because of success, 100%. And in fact, in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you how we attain courage, right? I've got that in my notes, right? It's what we're teaching here. But the main thing that we need to understand is, where does courage come from? And again, it can be built, it can be attained, it can be added to, but it comes from your ability to overcome doubt, okay? And so if you don't have that ability in and of yourself, there's a lot of things that we'll say is feed fear or feed courage.
Mm-hmm.
And you were onto something just then, Maddie. You were saying that you have people that cheer for you, and that gives you courage, and it does. But so fears even go deeper than that, though, because, like I said, and I asked earlier, what is fear? And you're trying to describe it, try to come up with a definition. Here's the definition from Google: an unpleasant emotion, belief in danger, pain, or threat. Okay, so your feeling of danger or harm. Okay? If that's the case, if fear is doubt and a feeling of danger, a pain or a threat or harm is coming, then fear is present more times than you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because how many times in a day, if you wake up tomorrow morning and you go to work, throughout the day, all day until you get home to go to bed, how often is fear present?
I think all day.
All day.
Yeah.
All day, every minute, every hour. Fear is present because it is the presence of danger or harm. And let me tell you something. If you live in this world in 2025 for more than 5 minutes, go outside. Danger is everywhere.
Yeah.
You get hit by a car. This person over here is dangerous. I mean, You go to Walmart, you're around people.
Mm-hmm.
So danger is present everywhere. So you're living in fear.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Mm.
Every day you're in survivor mode and you're living in fear.
Yeah.
Okay? So knowing that, think about this. How many times do you hear in your head, you're not good enough, you're not right, you're not strong enough, you're not worthy, you're not loved, you're not beautiful enough, you're not enough, period. How many times do you hear that? How many times do you hear that in your head? I don't know about you. I hear it all the time. Okay? So I hear all that echoing in my mind all the time. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. But whether you do or don't, there's people out there that do. There's people out there that probably manage it better. Look, there's also people out there that are overly confident, and they would never think something like that about themselves. But the reality is if you live in this world long enough, people will tell you these things. Right. And these things will be in your mind because of the devil.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
So
for the record, I definitely all day
yeah,
ask those, say those things. I mean, and I think it's human nature. I mean, it's almost like the world makes you feel like you're not enough because if something good happens to me, I'm like, wait, all right, so what's the bad thing that, it's like,
what's coming?
What's coming?
Wow.
You can't just accept the good thing that happened.
Right.
It's always like, okay, so then now what?
Yeah.
We're on this high and then boom.
Right. Wow. No, that's good. So there's a song that I like, Zach Williams. It's called "Fear Is a Liar," and what I just said, you're not good enough, you're not right, you're not strong enough, you're not worthy. Those are lyrics to his song.
Ooh.
It's a really good song.
What is it called?
Fear is a liar.
That's a good little thing we can share on our
definitely
social media.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great.
Listen to that.
Yeah, I like that.
So we live our lives in fear. So what we have just established is that every day we live our lives in fear. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the devil shows up as fear, not with a pitchfork. Okay? So get that.
Yep.
A lot of people think he's running around with a pitchfork and a red horns on his head, and that's just not the case.
I mean, so we go to the same church. I've never really thought about, and I'm a newbie going to church. But some of the stuff that Pastor Danny has talked about the recent weeks and then it goes back to like my friend group when we talk about it and things like that, is different things that happen and temptations and different things. And he would always say like, that's the devil. That's the devil. And I'm like, God, if people could wrap their head around the devil not being like the pitchfork, because that's what I was up until 4 or 5 months ago, and look at it as if, it's this person little on your shoulder pulling you to do the things that are not true. It's just a really cool way to look at it. I mean,
yeah.
And it's just funny that you're referring to fear being the
fear.
devil.
Fear is the devil. The devil is fear.
Mm-hmm.
And he shows up as fear. And I'm telling you, we could look, this particular teaching is about courage. Okay, but you define courage by defining the opposite of it. And fear can be defined as so many different things, but at the end of the day, knowing that you live in it every day, you want to figure out how not to do that. And so that's why we're really uncovering what we're talking about. But now here's the other thing about fear, because you also, when you carry the fear that we just talked about, that's what is also synonymous with the fear of man, which is all in Scripture. You either fear man or you fear God. You can't fear both.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fear of man keeps you from what God has designed for you. And so, you know, driving out fear helps you in more ways than one. And we're going to get back to courage and leadership in a minute. But we're making the case here for driving out fear. You want to kill giants, you follow giant killers, right? So if you want courage, then you got to figure out how to kill the giants, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so fear of man creates the need. Here's the other thing that fear of man does. It creates the need for recognition from people. Which, by the way, we all as humans we have a desire to be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is, and I didn't really prepare for this part of it. It's taking me here somewhere, so bear with me. You need recognition from people, but that's not what. That's like the seasoning. Okay, so you need that, but that's not really what you feed on. Okay, you inside feed on what God has for your life, and then the recognition from people just kind of adds the seasoning to it. Okay, I don't really know how to say it otherwise, but I'm trying to come up with an illustration for it. But your identity is driven from God. If you derive your identity from people, then you will need recognition more than if you derive your identity from God. And so, anyway, back to where we were. Let me back up. So, courage is the opposite of fear. So then you would also say that cowards, you've heard that word.
Mm-hmm.
Cowards is the opposite of courage, right? A coward would be the opposite of a courageous person. And when you talk about courage, you think about someone that what? So let's just say, now I'll get back to leadership. Let's just say that you had a courageous leader. This leader is defined by courage. Number one, have you ever defined someone as courageous in your life?
As a leader?
Yeah. Have you ever seen a courageous leader make courageous decisions? And then in the opposite, I would say, have you ever seen a leader make cowardly decisions?
More of the second. More of leaders making cowardly decisions than a courageous leader making decisions.
Yeah, some people think about courage and they think, well, you want the guy look, let's think about Donald Trump for a minute, because he's wearing this badge because he got shot at and he stood up and pumped his fist. And everybody's saying that's courage.
Mm-hmm.
And that is courage. It's huge, right? It's big time courage. He's driven by something outside of himself. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I don't really know what it is. Maybe it's God, but maybe it's his desire to be the best president in U.S. history. I don't really know, but hopefully it's God, right? And he has a mission. But typically when you have a courageous person, and this is where I was going with this, if you knew somebody, because typically a courageous person has a mission that's way bigger than them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gives people courage. Okay?
Yeah.
If they don't have a mission greater than them, they will not have courage. And so that's
good.
Is a signifier. Well, I guess, is that a word? That is it is
now.
Yeah, it is. We'll just make it up. But you have to, a courageous person has a mission bigger than themselves. And so knowing that, the leader has to be driven by something way bigger than themselves. So, okay.
Well, wait.
Go ahead.
I think that you're a courageous person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the definition of you.
Well,
You have brought the podcast and your new company. I mean, like, you have a mission that's bigger than yourself. I mean, you are
100%.
like driven. Everything that you do, you've got that lingering.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'll accept that, Maddie. Thank you. Thank you for the encouragement. By the way, what you just did is you encouraged me, right? And I appreciate that because I need that encouragement. So courage means to put on courage. So knowing that, you just encouraged me. So how powerful is that for you to encourage others? Well, what you're doing is you're giving them confidence, right? So you're removing doubt.
Yeah.
Okay? And so that's why I said earlier, if fear is the opposite of courage, then, and you encourage someone, you're giving them encouragement, you're removing doubt, okay? Removing fear. And so how important is it to encourage people?
I mean,
it's critical.
Yeah.
It's mission critical.
What's crazy, and this is just me with my little elementary school brain, when I think about, like, you got to fill up. It's like on Monsters, Inc. when they go get the screams and, like, the tanks fill up, you know? I know that's wild.
No,
but
that's
I think, like, as we're talking, I'm like, you know, you can find someone that has no courage whatsoever, and they're just, like, they feel like they can't do anything right or whatever. And then someone encourages them, and it fills their tank up a little bit.
Yep.
And then the next person, you know, it just, like, and it's just, like, that's, and then once it gets full, like, they've got courage.
They have courage. But exactly. So where do you get it if people don't give it to you? So what you just said was that you give courage and it fills their tank to give people courage. And that would be true. But what happens if no one's giving it to you? You're not very encouraged. And you're beat down and you're full of doubt. Well, guess what? That's what the devil wants. All the time. So
I was going to say the Bible, because
I
think that, you know, there's sometimes when you don't know what to encourage. Like, if you have a friend going through something, or, you know, like, if you don't know what to say, you know, I like research Bible verses or things like that are, you know, kind of tailored towards doubt or encouragement, and send them. But yeah, that's hard to think about, being the person that's not getting an encouragement.
Yeah, everybody needs courage. Everybody needs encouragement. And I mean, therefore, you're giving courage, right? Just remember that. Like, I texted, and I'm not tooting my horn here, but I will tell you, I text our pastor, you know, routinely, and just because he needs to be encouraged. And I text people, if I'm riding to work, not just the pastor, but riding to work, and I think about somebody, I try to text them and say, hey, I just thought about you. Hope you have a good day.
How often do you think about someone just, like, randomly, like you just said, you're driving and you don't text them?
All the time. Yeah. I
think we've talked about this, like, in an earlier episode, and I have done so much better at being like, oh, I'm going to follow up with that part. Not follow up, but just check in.
Yeah.
Like, hey, just thinking about you.
No, it is something that we have talked about. It's important. So, all right. So how do we attain courage? How do you give courage? How do you get it, rather? Not how do you give it?
So one question I wrote down is, can you learn courage?
That's a good question.
I think that I don't really know the answer to that, but I think that it's built on encouragement. So it's like a natural thing, you know? So, like, happiness, you can't learn to be happy. Like, it's just an emotion that you get. Courage, I think, is built by, you can't sit and read a book about being courageous and be like, okay, so I'm going to practice this, this, and this. If you still have self-doubt, if you still have people around you, it's, you know, I mean, you can't, like, read a book to be like, why is everyone not encouraging me anymore? Or, you know?
That's interesting. Can you learn it? So I guess that you've said that on several things, and I don't know. I'm kind of stumped on that one. I don't know. if you can
Well,
encourage,
let's
if you
ask
can,
the audience. We'll
yeah,
ask.
maybe they can drop a tag or a note. Can you learn courage? I don't know. So we talked about it being synonymous with fear, and fear is an emotion.
Right.
But courage is not an emotion.
Right.
Hmm.
Wait, did I just stump
For a
Jeremy
minute.
Melton?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Can you learn courage? Because you can learn a lot of these attributes. I
Mhm.
always say that. You
Yeah.
can learn them. That's a brilliant question. That's a good question. I'll think about it. All right. So how do we attain courage? I got 4 ways. All right. And the number 1 way is remember your position. So let's just say that you're defeated. Like right now, you're defeated. And, well, hang on a second. You're not defeated because you have victory, but you feel defeated. Okay. You have no courage and you're in a state of submission. And you think to yourself, I need courage to overcome what I'm about to have to overcome. Right? Let's just put ourselves in that position. So, how do you attain courage to overcome that? And this is how. Number 1, remember your position. And when I say that, remember your position, don't remember where you are. I'm not talking about that. But remember who God made you to be. So, God made you to be strong, victorious, accepted, justified, redeemed, saved, beautifully and wonderfully made, forgiven. I mean, like you said earlier, go to the Word, the Bible, and read about who you actually are, right? Or who you can be, and who you are in God's eyes, not in everyone else's eyes.
Right.
So when I say remember your position, that's what I'm talking about. So you remember who you are in God's eyes. That's the number 1 thing you have to do. Number 2 would be, number 1, you remember who you are in God's eyes. Number 2, you declare victory and go ahead and confront it. So fear will not leave you until you confront it. In other words, let's just say that you're afraid of heights. You'll always be afraid of heights until you make yourself unafraid of heights, right? So how do you overcome the fear? And I'm not a psychologist by any stretch, so I'm not licensed to say this, but what I've heard is you have to go and be exposed to that at which you fear.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not a psychologist, but that's what I was told. You have to be exposed to it. You have to know that it's there and you have to confront it. Otherwise, it stays there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so have you ever had a fear that you overcame? Personally.
Yes. And if you give me a second, I mean, I have the small ones like heights, hate heights, but don't mind roller coasters, but hate Tower of Terror. So we went to Disney and I did it, but I'm still fearful of it. So I don't know if I really overcome it, but
yeah. I have a bad fear of heights as I've gotten older. I used to not care. But can I tell you something, an embarrassing story?
yeah, that's great.
So we went down to Perry Fair. You been to Perry Fair?
No.
Okay. Well, down at Perry Fair, just in South Georgia, not that far away, we get on a Ferris wheel with my kids, my children.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, she was 14 years old, and my 8-year-old, 7-year-old. We get on this Ferris wheel. I think that's what it's called. The thing when you goes up. Isn't that called a?
Yeah, very calm ride.
Yeah, very calm ride. So I'm like, I just walk up there. I'm like, hey, let's go. Let's do it. You know, I get on there and we pull our seatbelt thing down. Well, that thing goes to going up. And oh my God, I started freaking out. Like I'm white knuckling the seats. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Bro, I was literally scared to death. I've never felt fear like that. I thought we were going to die. I was like, holy crap.
You're like shaking.
I'm telling you, and I was like, dude, I'm a grown man. These kids are just, and my daughter's like, Dad, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing.
They're like eating their cotton candy. You're just like.
We go up to the top. Well, it stops.
Mhm.
And I was like, holy cow, it was messing me up. Well, after a minute or two, I got myself together. But the point is I was straight up mortified for, I don't know, 3 minutes, right? And then I got myself together and I was good. But I said, I'll never do that again. But I don't know where it came from. It was just a genuine fear, like we're going to die. And it was weird. But anyway, everybody can make fun of me now.
So what about in like leadership? So like as a leader, when have you overcome a fear? Because I think of smaller things like having to have the hard conversations with people. I hate confrontation.
Yeah.
But that's something that I have to do. I don't know if I do it well, but I still do it, So those are things where I have to build myself up, and I can tell that like when I'm having those conversations, I'm nervous and my throat's shaky, things like that. But I overcome it, because I have to.
It's interesting. So, look, I may have it one day, but I don't have those fears. So I don't think about it like that. When I have a difficult conversation, it's just not difficult to me. But everything's different, right? You get on the roller coaster and ride. I'm not doing that. But I can go and have a challenging conversation with somebody and be okay. So, but that's the same kind of thing. It's like that's a fear. That's overcome. I don't know. It's weird. Courage overcomes that.
Mm-hmm.
And getting on the ride or having the conversation is how you overcome that fear. That's interesting, though. So tell me about how you've had that happen before, but you overcome it. How did you overcome it?
Because I had to.
You just had to have the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get no details here, but like, I mean, it's one of those things where you just have to, in order for work to move forward, it's like hiring and firing. You got to fire people. It sucks to fire people that you genuinely care about.
You have to coach yourself through it.
Yeah. Because it's the right thing to do. You can't just keep letting them work there. It's like your company's depending on you.
To manage it.
Right. I would rather just crawl up in a hole and not have that conversation. But
you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of coaching in my head that goes on. Notes, just,
Yeah.
I'm a note taker.
Yeah.
So,
No, I love it.
But that's one of my, just in my professional career that.
Yeah. What about with your kids? Any fear with your kids? Or things that require courage?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things. When we interviewed Mickey, talking about social media and stuff like that, like those having hard conversations with your kids about what the world really is, and they're so naive to it. I think that takes courage, because it really stinks having those conversations, and then you just take their innocence away. Not innocence, but like, you can't do this because there's really bad people in the world, and this is what's happening. It's like you have to really paint the picture of how bad the world is.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of like,
right.
That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, going back to that was a rough. The stuff we learned that day with Mickey was brutal, because it got me to thinking about all kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then you get to thinking, "Am I doing this right?" I don't know about you, but
no,
me, yeah. So
it was like 1 week before that episode that we recorded, and I let my daughter get an Instagram.
Yeah, I did. I let
and
Missy
like,
get one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That was awful.
They're the same age. So.
Yeah, they are. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, number 3. So number 1, you remember your position, who God made you to be. Number 2, you confront the fear and declare victory. Number 3, censor your input. What does that mean?
I don't know.
So if you were to censor your input, so you're a computer, and what comes in, you hear trash in, trash out.
Mm-hmm.
Good data in, good data out, bad data in, bad data out. So censor your input would mean
don't let everything that comes to your
That's
mind.
right. Don't let everything in.
Right.
We talk about, you remember back many episodes ago, we talked about what you will receive, right?
Right.
Or let it pass. So you receive good things and you let it pass right on through the bad things. So you control what you let in. So you want to let encouragement in. You want to keep doubt out.
You gotta accept it.
Yeah. Yes, you have to accept the encouragement.
Yeah.
And that's why I said a while ago, I'll receive that because it was good.
Yeah.
Right? But if you had said, Jeremy, this podcast is never going to do anything. It's going to be terrible. We're not going to build any, you're kind of wasting your time. If I hear that and receive it, I'm going to stay beaten, defeated about it.
Right.
So my mission is greater than that. So no, I'm not hearing that. I'm not receiving that.
Yeah.
If your husband or your wife are not encouraging you and they're berating you with whatever, you have the choice to receive it. Right?
This could get a little sticky here.
Yeah, it always does. But what I'm saying is you have the decision to make whether you're going to receive it or not.
Right.
Not that I'm not saying that it's acceptable.
Yeah.
If your spouse is berating you. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that you have you choose whether or not you receive it or not. And whether or not you receive it or not determines how you react, then you're no different than anyone else. Because, again, doubt and fear will be present with you every single day. And you choose what you let in and what you don't. So, number 3 is censor your input. So you want courage? Guess what? Let encouragement in and let doubt out. Okay? So don't only receive what you need to receive to build courage. Number 4. And that number 4 is cultivate your love. So, you have an obligation to yourself to pursue courage. I just got done telling everybody that's listening to this right now, I just got done telling you that you live in a world where fear is around you every single day. Every hour, every minute, every day. Fear is present. And you choose how you respond to it. All right? And you want to be courageous, then that's what you do. Okay? So again, and I don't know how else to explain it other than that, courage is moving on despite the fear and the doubt and the uncertainty and the risk, all those things.
Yeah.
And so it's funny. I'll tell a quick story and then we're going to wrap it up. I heard a preacher say once that when you have less choices to make, you're better off. And I didn't understand that at the time. But when you have made your mind up about something, you tend to move faster. And so I guess what I'm getting at is right now, what I'm saying to land the plane is, if you want courage, then you choose courage. All right? You set your mind, you set your heart to be courageous. And so,
well, it sounds like
if for nothing else, go ahead.
You can learn it.
Yeah. Well,
I think
you always do that at the end. You always lead us to the answer.
No, you led us there.
No. So that's perfect. You're right. Maybe you can it's learned. So if you decide, I'm going to be courageous and I'm going to speak courage over my life and I'm going to speak good and I'm going to speak, I'm going to delay, I'm going to kick out doubt, uncertainty, all that stuff. It doesn't matter, right? You choose to be courageous. And then you remember who God called you to be. And you confront the fear head on. Because why? Because you've chosen to be courageous.
Mm-hmm.
So you confront the fear. And then you censor your input. You allow things in that need to be there or kick them out, right? Push them away. And I guess if you do those things, then yes, you can build courage.
Well, I thought it was funny because I asked the question, can you learn to be courageous or learn courage? And you were like, I'm not really sure. Here are 4 ways to learn how to be courageous. And so I was like, all right, well, this is, but you laid it out. I mean, these are 4. If you do all 4 of these things, I truly believe that, I mean, you'll be more courageous, if anything. You may not be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We did this the last time, and I think it was you or Daniel one that said, it was like, we were talking about, and at first I said, no, I don't think you can. And then the end of the thing, it was like, well, yeah, I guess you can. I just taught it. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can learn courage. I guess you can learn all of this stuff.
It's almost like a habit.
Yeah.
You know, like, not like courage is a habit, but if you get into these routines of, remembering your position, remembering who God made you to be and who he loves and who he sees in you, declaring victory and confronting your fears, censoring your input and not letting everything in, like, it's a habit. You can't just you can't read that and be like, yep, okay, I'm courageous now. Like, you have to generally, like,
it's what you do.
Right.
So leadership is what
routine.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do these things, then you become a leader, but you become courageous.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
And we'll put a bow on this. So if you want to be a leader, you better be courageous.
Yeah.
Because people don't follow cowards.
Mm-mm. No one follows a parked car.
Tyrone.
Oh.
That's true. So then that's right. No one's going to follow a parked car. No one's going to follow a coward.
No.
You have to be a courageous person to build followers, to build your leadership. You have to have courage.
Yeah.
So.
What's your takeaway?
From this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. What's yours? You already got a takeaway?
Yeah, because I wrote it down.
Okay, what is it?
Fear is around you every single day, and you have to choose how to respond.
Nice. Fear is around you every day. Choose how to respond.
Mm-hmm. You choose.
Yes, that's right. No matter what the circumstances are, no matter who around you says what, you respond. You choose how you respond.
Because I also think when you said that, I thought about how I choose to respond to things. If it's in a positive way, it affects every single person in my life. So my kids, if I get upset about, I don't know, if I'm, okay, well, it's going to be all right, whatever. Their demeanor changes. So it's almost like my courage is encouraging them.
Oh, 100.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So I think that stuck with me.
Yes. So courage inspires courage.
Right.
If you're around people that are courageous, you will become more courageous.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
I'm sitting in the room. I'm just with you. It's like it's yes. Well, and I'm not saying feed off of
yes.
You feed off of each other, and I think
you've said that before. You said, Jeremy, your passion
absolutely
helps me.
It drives.
Yeah, and I'm the same way with leaders that I'm with around. Someone's being courageous. You want to be courageous.
Yeah. Yep.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah. I like your takeaway.
You taught it.
Oh, Lord. All right, cool. Well, that wraps it up.
Yeah.
That pretty much sums it up. I think, Maddie, you can learn courage. At least you.
This just in.
Yeah. So you can at least create the atmosphere in which it can be attained. I think. So, good stuff.
Thank you.
All right. We're signing off.
Yeah, that was good.
See you next week.